Iseon was on a call with someone, reflecting on his feelings. He admitted he had never been attracted to her, not even once since they first met, but he believed there were different kinds of love beyond romance between a man and a woman. Despite the lack of attraction, he was still set on marrying her. That's what Yumin wanted, and after all, she had basically saved his family. Unbeknownst to him, Yumin was secretly listening to everything he said. Iseon continued, saying he would always be there to take care of her. If she wanted, he would tell her he loved her every single day. He was ready to live the rest of his life like that just to repay her. Hearing his words, Yumin couldn't hold back her tears. She was crying quietly, overwhelmed by emotion. The scene shifted to a bustling cafe filled with people. Among them sat Yumin and Iseon, facing each other. Iseon brought up their upcoming wedding, asking if she had thought about the venue. Yumin reminded herself to stay strong. She couldn't forget how miserable she had felt that day. With a calm voice, she asked him if he was truly sure about marrying her. Iseon didn't hesitate. He said he was absolutely sure, calling himself the luckiest man to have her as his wife. Yumin smiled and said he always knew how to say the sweetest things. In her thoughts, she remembered that this was exactly why she had once loved him. She never imagined they'd end up like this. Iseon, still smiling, told her he only said such things to her because he loved her. As he spoke, he gently reached for her hand, but Yumin pulled her hand away. With a soft smile, she told him she was tired of him now. Inside, she hoped her words were kind yet cruel enough to hurt him as much as he had hurt her. She calmly suggested they forget about the wedding. The people around them heard the conversation and started whispering. Some remarked how he was getting dumped on Christmas Eve and how she did it with a smile. Confused and hurt, Iseon asked why this was happening all of a sudden. Still smiling, Yumin replied with brutal honesty. She said she was out of his league and she was simply tired of him. She couldn't control her feelings anymore. After dating him for 6 years, she believed she had done more than enough. It was time to end things. 3 months later, a couple was walking hand in hand down a street, clearly in love, but they suddenly froze when they noticed someone passing by with a heavy, depressed aura. It was Yumin. As she walked past, Yumin turned around and looked at the couple. They seemed so in love that it brought back memories of Isen. She thought about how strange it was to feel jealous of couples like them. She realized she still hadn't learned her lesson. Her last relationship had ended in vain, despite all the years of effort. Yumin arrived at her office, looking tired and worn out. Seeing her in that state, Jihui immediately asked why she was so late. Yumin explained that it took her a long time to visit both the sample room and the market. Concerned about her condition, Jihui suggested she leave everything there and lie down for a while. Yumin agreed, but said she would first drop off the items. After placing them in their designated spot, she mentioned she'd go lie down in the break room for a moment. As she walked away, a girl picked up something that had fallen from Yumin's bag. She commented that Yumin was looking even more haggard lately and wondered if she would be okay. Another girl responded, saying it was because Yumin worked too much and had been like this for several months now. Jihui overheard their conversation. Inside the restroom, Yumin also heard them talking. She thought to herself that she could hear everything. Despite being the CEO, she was making her employees feel nervous. She knew she had to snap out of this. She couldn't let herself behave this way just because of her ex, the same person she had broken up with. She reminded herself that she had worked so hard to start this company. She couldn't allow something like this to shake her. She needed to forget about him and rest. But just thinking about what he did made her angry. At that moment, Jihui entered the restroom and mentioned she thought Yumin was lying down. She asked if she felt a bit better now. Yumin replied that she was totally fine. Jihui handed her a cup of tea and said she was shocked to see her earlier. She reminded Yumin that someone with such low stamina shouldn't overdo things. Yumin calmly said she understood. Jihui, thinking to herself, already knew Yumin had been overworking since the breakup, but now she was genuinely concerned about whether Yumin could keep working in her current condition. She felt the need to stop her from thinking about her ex. Suddenly, an idea came to Jihui. She turned to Yumin and asked if she would go somewhere with her that evening, only if she wasn't too tired. Yumin smiled and said she would love to. She asked where they were going. Jioi reminded her about Seong, her friend who advertised their bag for free. It was Seong's birthday, and they could attend her party to thank her and have some fun. With a warm smile, Yumin agreed and said she would love to go. Later that night, the scene shifted to a lively birthday party. The birthday girl warmly welcomed both Yumin and Jihui. They greeted her with cheerful birthday wishes. The host invited them to eat and drink freely, mentioning that everyone at the party was either a friend or acquaintance, so they should feel comfortable socializing too. Yumin then turned to Jihui and suggested they go grab something to eat, but Jihui quickly excused herself, saying she needed to use the washroom. Yumin agreed and said she'd get a table for them in the meantime. As Yumin looked around, she thought about how long it had been since she attended a party like this. The atmosphere excited her. Many guests were popular on MeTube or social media. It was noisy, hectic, and she surprisingly enjoyed it. She sat down comfortably, ate quietly, and observed the people around her. Her gaze landed on a man sitting alone nearby. She noted that he seemed to be alone too. Curious, she asked if he was a friend of Seo-young. The man simply responded with a no. Yumin wondered if he was just shy. She tried to make conversation, saying she was there because her friend was a friend of the birthday girl. He only replied with a short "I see." Trying again, she asked if he had tried the food. The man said he hadn't. His cold responses made Yumin feel ignored. She thought he hadn't even looked at her once. Suddenly, the man turned to her and bluntly asked her to stop talking to him. That was the first time he actually looked at her. Yumin thought that now he was finally showing his arrogant face, but she had no interest in speaking to him anymore either. Then, without warning, the man leaned in very close to her, surprising Yumin. He asked if they had met before. Confused, Yumin thought about how he wouldn't even look at her earlier, and now he was acting strange. She responded that they had never met. He then asked if she was a celebrity, an actress, or a singer. Yumin replied that she was just an ordinary citizen. Internally, Yumin tried to figure him out. Was he flirting, or had he genuinely mistaken her for someone else? If this was flirting, he was definitely out of practice, but looking at his face, maybe he didn't need to be good at it. Just then, Yumin pointed out that he seemed to be getting a call. The man answered his phone, and Yumin wondered why Jihui hadn't returned yet. Soon after, the man stood up abruptly and walked away. Yumin wondered where he was rushing off to. Maybe the call was urgent? As she looked around, she noticed that he had dropped his wallet. Picking it up, she decided to find him and return it. She checked the wallet and found the name Hyundo written inside. While searching for him, she worried that he had left in such a hurry and would be troubled without his wallet. But after some time, she decided to give up and hand it to one of the staff instead. Just then, she heard his voice and quietly moved toward the sound. She saw Hyundo talking to someone. It was a woman, her voice faint but clear. Hyundo was yelling. He said he had dated her out of pity, not love. Yumin was stunned by what she heard. Hyeon continued, saying he couldn't keep doing this. It wasn't his responsibility to comfort her. Every time she acted that way, it frustrated him. He asked her to stop pretending and to accept that they should part ways. He told her to stop being so pathetic. The woman, however, insisted that he would stay with her and eventually tell her he loved her again. But Hyundo snapped back. He said he might have done that before, but now he was tired of pretending. It had been hard faking love all this time. She had enjoyed a great year because of him, so she should be thanking him instead. At that moment, a wallet came flying straight at Hyundo's head, thrown by Yumin. To her, the worst kind of lover was someone who faked being in love, who deceived their partner, just like this man or her own ex, whom she had dated for 6 years. She began reflecting. So her ex had never been attracted to her or loved her as a woman? And now he planned to say he loved her and marry her just because she had saved him? She couldn't understand how that was considered repayment. She thought she should have done the same thing to that jerk. Hyundo, startled and angry, turned around and looked directly at Yumin. Yumin wondered if taking that action would have made her feel better than she did now. Suddenly, Hyundo walked up to her quickly. The sudden movement made Yumin panic. She thought to herself, what had she just done? A while earlier, Jihui returned from the washroom and began searching for Yumin. Soon, she spotted her sitting nearby, but as she looked closer, she noticed Yumin wasn't alone. She was with a man. Confused, Jihui wondered who Yumin was talking to. She hadn't expected her to have company. Just then, a man suddenly appeared behind Jihui and accidentally bumped into her. Flustered, he apologized, explaining he hadn't seen her because he was looking for his friend. Jihui reassured him it was all right, calling it just an accident. She then asked if he was friends with the man sitting over there. The stranger confirmed it. Curious, Jihui asked if his friend was single. When the man replied yes, she lit up and mentioned that her friend was single too, calling it a great coincidence. Hearing this, the man blushed and nervously added that he was single as well. He asked if that could also be a good sign for the two of them. Surprised, Jihui wondered why he was saying this. Was he flirting with her? He looked younger and she wasn't sure if it was okay. Both of them then looked toward Yumin and the man she was with, but they had disappeared. The man commented on it, clearly confused. Back in the present, Hyundo confronted Yumin, demanding to know who she was and why she was there. He asked if she had followed him. Nervously, Yumin said she hadn't exactly followed him, but Hyundo insisted he had seen her come after him. Yumi thought to herself that while the guy had a vulgar mouth, she still shouldn't have lost her temper like that. The situation had gotten messy. Hyundo suddenly asked if she had filmed or recorded anything. Yumin, shocked, denied it. She couldn't understand why he would even suggest that. He then accused her of sneaking around and hiding like a rat. Offended, Yumin asked what he just called her. She admitted she had made a mistake, but reminded him that he hadn't even noticed what she had thrown at him. As he looked at the object, he realized it was his wallet. Yumin, frustrated, told him she had only come to return it, and yet he had insulted her. Hyundo looked behind him, realizing the woman he had been talking to earlier had vanished. He noted how fast she always was in moments like this, and thought Yumin clearly hadn't recognized her. Turning back, Hyundo apologized to Yumin. He said he had misunderstood and thanked her for returning his wallet. He even offered her a reward. Yumin quickly declined, silently hoping the situation would just end peacefully. Hyundo smirked, pointing out her unique way of returning a wallet. His comment made Yumin extremely nervous. He added a sarcastic remark, asking if she always returned people's things by throwing them at the back of their heads while staring straight at her. Yumin defended herself, saying she had only done it because he made her so angry. But deep down, she thought about how she wished she had the courage to be honest. In the end, she chose to apologize. She explained she had only wanted to return the wallet quickly and admitted it must have hurt. Looking at him gently, she said sorry. But Hyundo thought to himself that she didn't look sorry at all. Yumin then said she would return to the party. As she turned to leave, Hyundo mentioned that he was going back too. Startled, Yumin awkwardly said that in that case, they'd go together. Back at the party, the man was showing Jiwee pictures of his restaurant on his phone. She looked at it and noted that it was nearby. He mentioned that the place was under renovation, but invited her to visit once it was finished. Just then, Yumin arrived and informed Jiwee that she was back. Jiwee, a bit annoyed, asked where she had been and pointed out that she hadn't answered her call. Yumin apologized and said she'd explain everything after getting a drink. The two girls then quickly introduced each other to the men they were talking to. Jiwee suggested they all get something to drink, and the guy agreed. She then led Yumin with her toward the drinks. As they walked, Jiwee asked if something had happened between Yumin and the guy she was with earlier. Yumin, knowing what Daejeon wanted to hear, firmly said nothing had happened. She explained that he had dropped his wallet and she had just returned it. Jiwee seemed surprised and asked if that was really all. Yumin confirmed it and insisted they just go get their drinks. Meanwhile, the other man, Taegyeon, turned to Hyundo and asked if he had stepped out with that girl and what had happened between them. Ignoring the question, Hyundo asked Taegyeon if he had posted anything on social media about coming there with him. Taegyeon, a bit nervous, admitted he had posted something and asked if Hyundo had seen it. He quickly remembered that Hyundo hated having his photos taken. Trying to explain, Taegyeon said he only realized later that Hyundo had been in the photo by mistake and apologized. In his mind, he wondered how Hyundo had even found out since he didn't have any social media accounts. Hyundo brushed it off and said it didn't matter, then announced he was leaving. Taejun asked why he had come back at all if he planned to leave so soon. Since the restaurant would be closed for a few days due to renovations, he suggested they stay and have a drink with the others. But Hyundo glanced over at Yumin and walked off, saying he wasn't interested. Inside a car, the driver glanced at a girl named Sojung and asked how much longer she planned to keep wearing her disguise. This was the same girl who had been seen earlier with Hyundo. Sojung admitted she hadn't realized she was still wearing it, saying she got distracted. She then removed her hat and wig. The driver mentioned that the whole thing took longer than expected and asked if her conversation with Hyeondo had gone well. Sojung replied that it had, though she thought Hyeondo needed more time. She noted that he had said the meanest things to her. The driver silently wondered how those words didn't seem to bother her. She then asked if Sojung was sure that Hyeondo didn't mean what he had said. Sojung answered confidently. If it had been anyone else, she might have believed them, but she was sure Hyeondo would never leave her over something like that. In fact, she believed he was probably waiting for her call even now. The driver then asked what Sojung had been thinking so hard about earlier. Back when Yumin had thrown the wallet at Hyundo, Sojung had noticed and wondered what it was and who had thrown it. She briefly considered if it could have been one of her haters trying to terrorize her. Feeling uncertain, she had decided to leave quickly and planned to call Hyundo later. Looking at Yumin, she had thought that the girl was just some random person and even wondered if Yumin had followed Hyundo there instead of her. In the present, Sojung simply replied that she hadn't been thinking about anything important. The scene shifted to Hyundo's home. He sat sipping a cold drink while thinking about Sojung. He scolded himself for rushing out just because she had called. Feeling foolish, he resolved not to respond so quickly next time and promised himself he'd never run out like that again. Just then, he heard the notification sound of a message on his phone. Hurrying to check it, he found it was from Taeogun. He was annoyed, wondering why Taeogun would send a message so late and confuse him like this. He then opened the pictures Taegun had uploaded. Zooming in, he spotted Yumin and recognized her as the woman who had hit the back of his head. She looked familiar. He wondered if she had been one of his past customers. It felt like he was close to remembering her, but he dismissed the thought, telling himself it didn't matter anymore. After all, he believed he'd never see her again. But exactly 1 week later, Hyundo realized just how wrong he had been. At home, Sojung sat scrolling through her phone, checking one of her own posts. She then decided to see if there were any updates about Hyundo. As she browsed, she noticed there wasn't much posted about him. She figured he probably just spent all his time working out and managing the restaurant. Just then, her manager entered the room and reminded her that the new stylist was arriving today. Sojung responded with mild surprise. The manager then introduced the stylist, whose name was Hyeondo. Hyeondo greeted Sojung politely, expressing her hope that they would work well together. Sojung returned the gesture with a friendly reply. The manager then informed them that they had to head to the next event and asked them to go downstairs together. As they prepared to leave, Hyeondo couldn't help but think about her excitement. She was still in disbelief that she had become Sojung's personal stylist. She knew that Yumin would be completely shocked when she found out. Meanwhile, Hyundo saw a message from Sojung on his phone. He began to type a reply, feeling that she probably knew he had moved because of how angry he had been. But he hesitated and ended up deleting the message. He thought there was no point in replying. He was the one who had broken up with her. She had never come to his restaurant before, afraid of being caught, and she definitely wouldn't come now. In his mind, it was time she learned what it felt like to be ignored. As his thoughts wandered, he noticed a group of cute cats nearby and started taking their pictures. Right then, he received a call from Taegun. Annoyed, he answered, warning Taegun to be quick unless it was something important. Dion urged him to listen. He then shared something that completely surprised Hyundo, prompting him to respond in shock, demanding clarification about who had been invited that night. The scene then shifted to Yumin and Jihui having lunch together. While eating, Yumin repeated in disbelief that they had been invited to the place where Taegun worked. Jihui confirmed it. Taegun had said he got permission, and since the restaurant was reopening soon, he wanted to treat them before that happened. Yumin thought back to what Taegun had said, that the man they'd met before was the owner. She felt uneasy about the idea of seeing him again and admitted to herself that she didn't want to go. Jihui pointed out that the restaurant wasn't far and mentioned that she'd heard the food there was really good, but Yumin still declined, suggesting Jihui go without her. Jihui immediately suspected something. She guessed that something must have happened between Yumin and that man when they stepped outside the other day, which was why Yumin didn't want to go. Yumin insisted that nothing had happened. Jihui then took another guess. Maybe Yumin didn't want to meet someone new because she was still not over her ex. Shocked, Yumin quickly denied it, telling her she had it all wrong. Yumin and Jehu arrived at Taeyoung's restaurant, where he warmly welcomed them. Jehui complimented the restaurant, calling it pretty. Taeyoung beamed with pride, happy with how the renovations turned out. Jehui then handed him a small gift, saying she didn't want to come empty-handed. Taeyoung appreciated it and admired the packaging. Meanwhile, Yumin stood next to Hyeondo, feeling nervous. She hadn't expected to meet him again like this. She handed him a gift and congratulated him on the reopening. Hyeondo accepted it politely, thanked her, and invited them to take a seat. Inside the restaurant, Yumin sat down and observed her surroundings. She noted how close the neighborhood was to their office and thought about how unlikely it was for that one particular person to walk by at this exact moment. She wondered what she had even been expecting. Soon, the table was filled with delicious-looking dishes. Yumin took a bite and really liked the food. Taeyoung proudly mentioned that despite minimal advertising, their regular customers kept coming back through word of mouth. Yumin agreed, saying good food always spreads quickly. She glanced at Hyeondo and admitted to herself that he was an impressive chef. It was unexpected, but she reminded herself that talent wasn't limited to only good people. After the meal, Taeyeotsu took pictures of the gifts and asked if he could post them on his social media. He said he would tag both of them. They agreed happily. Chihado then asked Hyeondo if he was on social media too. Hyeondo replied that he wasn't, it just wasn't for him. Taejun added that since Hyeondo didn't use social media, he had created one for the restaurant himself. Jihui commented that maybe not having social media was better. She had recently been thinking about deleting her account. Taeyag quickly disagreed. Jihui explained that her ex-boyfriends kept messaging her through it. Taeyag advised her to block them all, just like he did after breakups. Jihui wondered aloud why exes reached out again. They should have treated her better when they were still together. Taekun shared a story. One of his exes had spread a rumor that he still had feelings for her, even after they'd broken up. Jihui was surprised. Yumin added that maybe he wasn't lying. Sometimes people can't be honest because of their pride. Hearing that, Hyeondo began to reflect. If what Yumin said was true, maybe he could finally understand Sojung's behavior. Maybe she still loved him and only pretended not to. Maybe she acted shamelessly because she couldn't be honest, even after he ended things. But if she couldn't be honest now, then when? Yumin noticed Hyundo's expression shift and wondered what was going on with him all of a sudden. Out of curiosity, she asked Jihui how long it usually took for her exes to contact her after a breakup. Jihui replied that it varied. Some called within weeks, others never reached out again. This made Yumin feel a bit disheartened. Then, Jihui suggested the only reliable way to make an ex call quickly by showing how happy you are with someone new. As they prepared to leave, Yumin and Jihua told the staff they had really enjoyed the food. Hyeondo thanked them and invited them to visit again. Jihua promised to bring more friends next time. Taegyeon then mentioned that their cab had arrived. Jihui was surprised it came so quickly since Yumin hadn't found one yet. It was explained that Jihui and Taegyeon lived in the same direction, so they were leaving together. Hyeodeon would walk home while Yumin needed a cab heading in another direction. Yumin assured Jihui that she'd find a cab soon and urged them to go ahead. Jihui nodded and told her to text later. As she left, she asked Kyoto to take care of Yumin. He agreed. After Jihui and Taeyeon left together, Hyeodeon suggested to Yumin that they walk to the main street. She'd have better luck finding a cab there. Yumin agreed, and they began walking together. As they walked, Yumin couldn't stop thinking about one thing. How would that jerk react if he saw her happy with another man? She had dumped him cruelly, and yet he had never shown anger. Maybe he wouldn't care even if she started dating again. Suddenly, she noticed a group of people walking ahead, chatting casually. One girl said she had been nervous because it was her first office dinner. The man beside her reassured her not to worry. Yumin looked at the man and froze. She couldn't believe her eyes. She had just bumped into her ex. 13 years ago, a scene from school is shown where a group of girls are gathered excitedly whispering to each other. One of them asks if the others can see the face and how it looks. Another girl replies that she can't see anything. Standing behind them are Yumin and Jihui. Jihui observes the commotion and guesses that it must be a male student. Curious, Yumin steps forward, eager to see what everyone is excited about. In her mind, she wonders who could be causing such a stir, but as soon as she lays eyes on the boy, she's completely shocked. The boy turns out to be none other than Iseon. The scene then shifts to the present day. Yumin, now an adult, sees her ex-boyfriend Iseon approaching from the other side. Panic takes over her. She thinks about how she had wanted to run into him, but now that it's happening, she isn't ready to face him. Worse, there's nowhere around to hide. Desperate, Yumin's eyes land on Hyeondo. She tells herself she needs to hide anywhere she can. Without a second thought, she rushes over to Hyeondo and buries her face inside his jacket. Hyeondo is startled and clearly not expecting this. At that moment, the girl walking alongside Iseon notices them. She points toward Yumin and Hyundo and remarks about how affectionate the couple looks. Iseon responds with a smile, agreeing that it's lovely. With that, both of them continue walking away. Irritated, Hyeondo turns to Yumin and questions her behavior. He tells her to get away from him. Yumin softly apologizes and pleads for just 3 minutes, promising she'll leave him alone afterward. Hyeondo is baffled by the request, saying she's standing too close. Yumin explains that she understands, but begs him to stay quiet for a moment, otherwise she might throw up. As Iseon and the girl walk away, the girl turns to him and asks if he has a girlfriend. Iseon replies that he does. Hearing this, Yumin is left completely stunned. After they are gone, Hyundo asks if it's finally over, and tells Yumin to let go of his jacket, but Yumin looks furious now and her expression worries Hyundo. He senses something bad is about to happen. Suddenly, Yumin yells out in frustration. She reminds herself and everyone around that she and Iseon had dated for 6 years. She can't believe that just 3 months after their breakup, he's already seeing someone new. The scene shifts to a park where Yumin is seen drinking as she vents her emotions to Hyundo. She admits that when she broke up with Iseon, she said some harsh things, but believes she had a good reason. It didn't make sense to her how he could forget 6 years of their relationship so quickly. Meanwhile, Hyundo silently wishes to go home. Still, he asks if Yumin behaved that way just because she saw her ex. Yumin apologizes, explaining that in that moment she had no place to hide except in his arms. Hyundo questions her choice to hide, reminding her she hadn't done anything wrong. Yumin agrees, wondering aloud why she even tried to hide. Lost in thought, she reflects on how she had imagined bumping into Iseon just before it actually happened. She scolds herself, realizing that when Iseon finally did appear, her first instinct was to hide. Deep down, she understands it was because if Iseon had seen her, he might have figured out how she truly felt. Hyun tells her she should have greeted Iseon instead. Doing so might have given the impression that she had moved on and was dating someone else. Yumin reacts in surprise, realizing he's right. She wonders why she didn't consider the fact that she was standing right next to a man. As the thought lingers, Yumin contemplates whether she will ever get such a chance again. Accidentally running into Iseon like today would be rare. To make things harder, she isn't dating anyone at the moment. Hyundo, visibly tired, suggests they head home. Yumin, looking at the drink in her hand, thinks she's had too much and feels she's humiliated herself. Walking behind Hyundo, Yumin finds herself thinking about him. She can't decide if he's kind or cold-hearted. He had been ruthless toward the woman in the alley that day, yet today he let her act foolish without a word. She remains confused about what kind of person he really is. But one thing becomes clear: if she wants another shot at facing Iseon, she just needs a man beside her, and Hyundo could be perfect for that role. Suddenly she asks Hyundo if he's dating anyone. If not, she offers to buy him dinner and proposes they meet near his place from time to time. She clarifies she isn't trying to seduce him, but wants him to pretend to date her. At the moment, she doesn't have anyone else who could play that part. In her mind, she reasons that even if someone else was available, it would be a problem since she has no desire to actually date anyone. Hyundo feels like the ideal choice, mostly because she doubts he'd ever fall for her. Hyundo keeps walking silently, but when he looks back, he sees Yumin sitting on the ground. He tells her to get up, but she doesn't move. He responds coldly, saying she can stay there for a while and find her way home alone. As he begins to walk away, Yumin remains seated. Moments later, Hyundo unexpectedly returns and asks what he would get in return for helping her. He wants to know what she can offer him. Yumin stands up and asks if he wants money, but Hyundo replies that it's not about money. Instead, he tells her plainly he wants to use her too. 5 years earlier, Hyundo was busy handling all the household chores. After preparing breakfast, he walked into his room where Sojung was still sleeping. Sitting beside her, she greeted him with a smile and called him her Cinderella boy, teasing him for working so diligently in the early morning. She warned him not to ever do this for another woman. Hyundo held her hand and gently bit her finger, telling her he was hungry and that he should eat this instead. She quickly protested and decided to get up. The scene then shifted to the present day inside Yumin's office. Her condition seemed noticeably bad. Ji-hui, noticing this, asked if she was okay and offered to get her some medicine. Yumin responded that she was fine and blamed her state on mixing drinks. This surprised Ji-hui, who pointed out that they had only drunk wine the previous night. Yumin, in her thoughts, admitted she didn't want to lie to Ji-hui but felt too embarrassed to tell her the truth. Another female colleague then joined the conversation, questioning whether they had drunk with men the night before. Yaoi corrected her, insisting they be addressed by their professional titles at work. The girl responded by saying they spoke too loudly about personal matters, which had sparked curiosity. Yaoi firmly told her to pretend not to hear anything, even if she did. Yumin then checked her phone and saw a message from Hyeondo asking to meet when she had time. 30 minutes later, Yumin was on her way to meet Hyundo. She thought it was best to get things over with quickly and fix the mess from the previous night. Upon seeing Hyundo sitting in a far corner despite so many empty seats, she wondered why he chose that spot. Approaching him, she acknowledged his early arrival and asked if he had been waiting long. He replied that he hadn't, which relieved her. He then said he would order drinks and asked her to sit. Just as Yumin was about to tell him what she wanted, he walked away to get the drinks. She noticed this and thought he didn't even ask her what she wanted. When he returned, he brought her tea. She assumed it was a safe and neutral choice. Yumin asked if he had made it home safely the night before, admitting she got drunk and probably tired him out. She also guessed she must have spoken gibberish. Without much reaction, Hyundo placed his teacup firmly on the table and reminded her of what they discussed while she was drunk, the idea of pretending to date. He asked why they shouldn't just go through with it. This caught Yumin off guard. She hadn't expected him to take it seriously. She admitted she thought he had played along because she was drunk and planned to tell him to forget it. But Hyundo confirmed that pretending to be her boyfriend wouldn't be difficult. He also reminded her that he had his own reason to go along with it, as he planned to use her too. Yumin realized he meant what he had said and was surprised by his willingness. She then began explaining her plan in detail. She wanted her ex to see her enjoying life with another man. Since her ex lived near Hyeondo's restaurant, she suggested they spend one day a week together. The plan would involve simple activities, sharing a meal, visiting a cafe, and taking a stroll. This plan was Yumin's way of avoiding reality. Even though she had broken up with her ex, she couldn't accept that he had never truly loved her. She wanted him to regret losing her. But Hyundo had no interest in her emotional situation or the plan's purpose. He then added his own condition. He would take a photo every time they met. If she preferred, he could avoid showing her face. These photos would be posted on his social media account. Hyundo was surprised, as she believed he didn't even have a social media account. He clarified that he would make one. She asked if that was all, to which he confirmed. She wondered if he didn't need a specific location or plan like she did. In truth, Hyundo hoped that showing Yumin in his life would be enough to stir jealousy in Sojong. Yumin suspected he also wanted his ex to see him with someone else. She recalled the woman he had fought with in the alley and found it strange, considering the harsh way he had broken up with her. She couldn't understand why he would do this now. Noticing her intense gaze, Hyundo wondered why she was looking at him like that. He then mentioned that Sundays would be best since his restaurant remained closed on that day. On other days, he would only be free at night. Yumin accepted that and said she would keep it in mind while making the schedule. Hyundo then asked how long the plan would last. Yumin, unsure, thought about it for a moment and joked that it should last until they got the reaction they wanted from their targets. Then she suggested 2 months as a realistic timeline. He agreed. As they left, Yumin told him they should start the coming Sunday. He agreed again. Before parting, Yumin paused and admitted that she probably didn't leave a great impression on him, yet he still accepted her ridiculous idea. She thanked him and expressed hope that they'd get along for the next 2 months. As she extended her hand toward him, Hyundo noticed her pretty smile and shook her hand with a smile of his own, thinking he couldn't wait for Sojong to find out about this new woman. Taeyoon was sitting with Jiwi, scrolling through his phone and looking at his messages. He regretted sending them, thinking they made him sound immature. He believed women liked younger men who acted mature and calm, so he needed to sound more relaxed. Suddenly, Hyundo appeared and asked Taegun what he was doing. Startled, Taegun asked when he had arrived. Hyundo then questioned why he came to work that day. Taegun explained that since the restaurant was reopening soon, he thought it would be a good idea to do some cleaning. Hyundo suggested that while he was there, he should also practice some of the menu items. Hyundo then brought up something he had been curious about for a long time. He suspected Hyundo was dating someone. He had been acting suspiciously, closing the restaurant without reason, leaving during breaks without saying anything, and always answering specific calls outside. Hyundo felt proud of how sharp his observations sounded. He checked his phone and noticed a follow request from Hyundo on social media. Shocked, he asked if Hyundo had really sent it. Hyundo confirmed, saying he was just trying it out. Taegun was thrilled. He remembered how Hyundo ignored him when he had begged him to join social media, and now he was finally on it. But Hyundo told him to be quiet and start cooking. Taegun, still curious, began asking more questions: if she was pretty, if he had a photo, and how long they had been dating. Annoyed, Hyundo told him to go away. Later, Hyundo returned home. Thinking about Taeun, he reminded himself never to tell him that he used to date Sojong. He turned on the TV where a film featuring Sojong was playing. At that moment, he received a message. Checking his phone, he saw it was from Yumin. She apologized for bothering him so late and mentioned that tomorrow was Sunday. She asked if they could start their plan then, if it was okay with him. Hyeondo thought he had no reason to wait. Meanwhile, Sojung's voice echoed from the TV. She was saying lines from her film, asking why someone was following her, if they loved and hated her at the same time, and whether their actions came from mixed emotions. At the same time, Yumin was also watching Sojung's movie on her laptop. She found the storyline odd but praised Sojung's acting. Yumin then checked her phone and wondered if Hyundo had replied. She thought he couldn't possibly be asleep already. She saw his message where he had typed OK twice. Looking at it, she wondered if he had pressed the send button too quickly by mistake. The next day, Yumin stood waiting, wondering if Hyundo had arrived yet. It was almost time. Suddenly, Hyundo appeared right behind her, startling her. She asked why he had come out from there, and he explained that he had been waiting nearby the whole time. Realizing he was already there, she suggested they walk a little before heading to the restaurant. She mentioned a street lined with cafes if they went in a certain direction. As they started walking, Hyundo looked at the people around them and began to feel uneasy, reminded of Sojung. Yumin noticed his strange expression and wondered if he was in a bad mood. She clarified that the street was a popular date spot, and if he went on dates, there was a good chance they would run into him there. When Hyundo asked what if he went somewhere else, Yumin replied that it would just mean the day had been a waste. Still, Yumin believed that if they kept trying, they would surely run into each other at least once within the next 2 months. They continued walking down the street, surrounded by couples. Seeing them made both of them feel awkward. Yumin thought how different this moment was compared to the last time she visited this place with Izzion. That time she had truly enjoyed herself, but now she couldn't ignore how uncomfortable she felt. Suddenly, Yumin tripped over a stone on the street and nearly fell, but Hyeondo caught her just in time. Everyone nearby turned to look, shocked to see that he had accidentally grabbed her entire face to stop her fall. Even Hyeondo found the moment extremely awkward. Later, they arrived at a restaurant. A visible handprint from Hyeondo was still on Yumin's face. She told him she needed to use the washroom first and asked him to find a table. Hyeondo quickly apologized, feeling guilty. Yumin reassured him that there was no need to apologize, but he still felt bad and said he didn't mean to grab her face. Yumin accepted the situation, saying he had helped her so it was fine and not to worry. Meanwhile, Izzion received a call from Hagyong. She asked what he was doing and he replied that he was cleaning. She then asked if he planned to come home. He questioned whether he was even allowed to go there. Hagyong told him no. She was worried he might try to come, and their father had clearly said he wouldn't allow Izzion back until he brought Yumin with him. Izzion responded calmly. If he wasn't allowed in the house, they could meet somewhere outside. He told her that he would see both her and their father later. Inside the cafe, Hyundo sat alone, waiting for Yumin. Suddenly, he sensed something and looked to the side, but nothing was there. Meanwhile, Yumin stood in the washroom, staring at the handprint left on her face. She assured herself that Hyundo wouldn't have grabbed her face on purpose. He had only been trying to help, and the fault was hers for being distracted and stumbling. She couldn't be angry when all he did was help. Then a thought crossed her mind. Was it possible that Izzion had been in the crowd earlier? After leaving the washroom, she saw Hyundo sitting alone. The scene felt familiar. She noticed that he hadn't taken the better seats by the window. She walked over and sat beside him. A lady arrived to take their order, and Hyundo ordered 2 plates of pasta. He then asked Yumin if her face hurt or if there were any bruises. Smiling, she assured him there was no pain. He told her to let him know if it started hurting later. Yumin then asked if he had created a social media account. When he confirmed, she asked for his username so she could follow him. She checked his profile and pointed out that he hadn't uploaded a photo. She said that without a profile picture, his ex wouldn't recognize the account. Hyundo replied that he had no photos and that she would recognize it anyway. Yumin offered to take a photo for him, claiming she was good at it, but Hyundo said he didn't like having his photo taken. Yumin apologized. Soon, their food arrived. Yumin reminded him to take a photo as proof. He agreed and took a moment to snap the picture. She told him it was fine if she appeared in the shot. Hyundo showed her the picture before uploading it. Yumin said it looked good as long as her face wasn't visible. Hyundo handed her some food and both began eating quietly. Neither spoke. After a while, Yumin asked him to look at her and say something. something. When he asked why, she explained that their table was the dullest in the restaurant. She didn't look like a woman enjoying herself with a new man. She asked if she even looked happy. Hyundo replied that at least she looked energetic. Yumin suggested that if he said something, she could pretend to be having a good time. Hyundo wondered why she was trying so hard. Then he brought up something she had said the day before. Yumin, now smiling, asked what he was referring to. He reminded her that she had said she wanted her ex to see her having fun with another man. Yumin confirmed it and admitted she was pathetic. Hyundo asked how she wanted her ex to react. Did she want him to leave his new girlfriend and come back? Yumin admitted that was exactly what she wanted. And if that wasn't possible, she at least wanted him to realize he still had feelings for her and regret his decision. Hyundo thought to himself that she was honest, unlike someone he knew. Yumin then asked if he wanted the same from his ex. She felt they were in the same situation and wondered why he was questioning her. Leon asked what she would do if her ex didn't call her for the next 2 months. Yumin was surprised. He continued, saying even if her ex saw her with another man, he might not reach out. That was why she shouldn't try so hard. Yumin thought that the plan didn't depend on how much effort they put in. As evening fell, the two walked out of the restaurant and said goodbye before going their separate ways. While heading home, Hyundo reflected on Yumin's attitude. Her demeanor hadn't changed much during the date. He hadn't criticized her to get a reaction. He had done it out of irritation. Her blind hope reminded him of his own past. He wondered if this was what it felt like to hate someone, just like yourself. While walking, Hyundo spotted Iseon near a group of cats. Iseon saw Hyundo and asked if he lived on the 5th floor. Hyundo, unfamiliar with the man, wondered who he was, as he had never seen him before. He replied by assuming that Iseon must live there too. Iseon confirmed that he lived on the 4th floor. Hyundo thought to himself that the 4th floor was just beneath his own. Iseon, smiling, mentioned that he remembered Hyundo moving in about a month ago. Then, a flashback revealed a scene from a month earlier. Hakyong was yelling at Iseon, demanding to know why he had broken up. It had been 2 months already, and she insisted he should tell her the truth now. Iseon tried to leave, saying he needed to meet someone. He offered to drive her halfway if she was heading home. Hakyong continued shouting, asking who he was meeting. She questioned if it was a woman and if he had dumped Yumin because of someone new. Iseon denied it, saying he was just meeting some friends. Hakyong asked again if he would ever tell her the real reason. As Iseon left the house, he saw Hyundo for the first time and thought he must be the new guy moving upstairs. Returning to the present, Iseon told Hyundo he had been disappointed that they never bumped into each other again. He was glad to finally say hello. Hyundo responded politely, saying it was nice to meet him. Suddenly, a noise caught their attention. Looking toward the sound, Iseon explained that the mother cat must have had her kittens nearby. The mother liked people, but the kittens didn't. He asked Hyundo if he disliked cats. Hyundo replied that he liked them. Iseon was pleased and mentioned that the neighborhood was very welcoming to stray cats, so Hyundo would see them often. In his mind, Hyundo thought about how much he loved it. As they entered the elevator, Iseon said goodbye, hoping they would see each other often. He told Hyundo it was nice meeting him. Hyundo returned the gesture, wishing him well. Hyundo then reflected on his situation. With an adorable cat family and even a friendly neighbor, especially considering how suddenly he had moved in, things were turning out great. Yumin was stunned as she looked at Hyundo's social media post. She couldn't believe he had actually uploaded the photo. He had been so critical of her, yet he still shared it. He didn't even have a social media account before, but now he was suddenly very active. She questioned how he could tell her not to try too hard when he was clearly putting in effort himself. She knew how difficult it was to influence someone's heart. No one understood it better than she did. Despite knowing this plan might fail, she believed she still had the right to try. The plan had already started, and she was determined to see it through no matter what. Meanwhile, at the park, Taegun saw the post and was shocked. He questioned what kind of photo it was and realized he had been right. Hyundo really did have a girlfriend. It was hard for him to believe that Hyundo was in a romantic relationship. Just then, Jihwe arrived and asked Taegun if he had been waiting long. She explained that there had been a long line in the washroom. Taegun replied that it was fine and he hadn't waited too long. Jihwe then asked what he had been doing, mentioning that she had heard him scream. Taegun said he was just surprised by something on social media, but claimed it was nothing. Internally, he was itching to tell her about it, but he decided to wait until he heard from Hyundo first. The next day, at the office, Yumin was working at her desk. A lady approached and told her that she would share the rest of the schedule once it became available. Yumin responded with thanks. The woman then asked if Yumin had driven there and if she was heading back to the office now. Yumin said yes, but admitted she wished she could just go home. At that moment, they noticed a group of girls chatting outside. The woman next to Yumin asked them what they were doing there. One of the girls explained that a TV series was being filmed nearby. Yumin asked who was going to be there. The girl replied that it was So Jong-hong. Hearing the name, Yumin was instantly shocked. The scene then shifted to the filming location, where a large crowd had gathered. Yumin also arrived and tried to catch a glimpse of Sojong. Seeing her, Yumin was surprised by how much prettier she looked in person. She wondered if Sojong had gotten hair extensions and thought the hairstyle suited her well. Even though she was far away, Yumin was happy to see her like that. At the same location, Hyeondo was passing by. She noticed Yumin and approached her to talk. Yumin asked why she was there and whether she had also come to watch the shoot. Hyeondo said Yumin would be shocked by what she was about to hear, and asked her to walk with her while she ran an errand. Yumin agreed. As Hyeondo and Yumin began walking together, Sojong noticed them leaving. She asked a man standing nearby where Hyeondo was going. The man replied that he had left something in the car and had asked Hyeondo to bring it. Sojong then told him to text her to hurry up because she had something to ask her. Yumin was caught off guard when Hyeondo told her that she had started working as Sojong's stylist. The news came as a surprise, and it took a moment for Yumin to process it. Hyeondo confessed that she had been hoping to surprise her with the announcement, but admitted she hadn't expected to run into her so suddenly and casually on that day. Despite the unexpected encounter, Yumin quickly gathered her thoughts and expressed how genuinely happy she was for her. Her warm congratulations reflected her pride and joy in seeing her friend achieving something so significant. Hyeondo, still beaming, suggested they should catch up properly sometime over a drink. She added with a slight chuckle that she couldn't get Sojong's autograph just yet since they weren't that close at the moment. Yumin, touched by her sincerity and growth, told her how proud she was. She marveled at how much Hyeondo had matured and how far she had come. As they spoke, Hyeondo commented on how it was obvious that Yumin and her brother were together. She mentioned that her brother had said the exact same thing recently, but the moment the words left her mouth, she realized the implications and quickly corrected herself. Apologizing sincerely, she said she had misspoken. Yumin, however, brushed it off with a smile. She reassured Hyeondo that it was fine and added that Iseon must be incredibly proud of her too. Wanting to keep her on schedule, Yumin reminded Hyeondo that she had an errand to run and that she shouldn't be late. Hyeondo nodded, agreeing that she should get going. As she walked away, she told Yumin to take care and said she'd call her later. Yumin waved back, wishing her well and saying she looked forward to it. Once Hyeondo was gone, Yumin's cheerful expression slowly faded, giving way to a subtle melancholy. The encounter had stirred emotions that lingered even after the conversation had ended. Meanwhile, back at the shooting location, Hyeondo returned to where Sojong was waiting. She told her she was back, having heard that Sojong had been looking for her. Sojong explained that she had been searching for her but hadn't been able to find her. The manager had informed her that Hyeondo had stepped out to grab something. However, she had spotted her talking to a friend and had assumed the conversation might take longer than expected. Hearing this, Hyeondo grew anxious. She immediately apologized, explaining that they had only exchanged greetings because they were excited to see each other. She added that they had parted ways right after that brief interaction. Sojong, calm and understanding, told her that it wasn't a problem and that it was perfectly fine to say hello to someone. Hyeondo nodded and promised that she wouldn't let it happen again. Sojong then commented on how close the two of them seemed and assumed that the woman she had seen must have been a good friend. Hyeondo confirmed it, explaining that she had known Yumin since they were little, though they hadn't been in touch lately. That distance, she said, was probably why the meeting had felt so emotional. Sojong acknowledged her response, and then mentioned that the manager needed Hyeondo. Taking the cue, Hyeondo excused herself but told Sojong not to hesitate if she needed anything. After Hyeondo left, Sojong pulled out her phone and began browsing Hyeondo's social media profile. Her curiosity had been sparked, and she went through his following list until she found Yumin Yumin's account. She couldn't help but wonder why Hyeon had suddenly created a social media account in the first place. It occurred to her that perhaps he wanted her to notice Yumin. The fact that Yumin was also Hyeon's friend added another layer to the situation. To Sojong, it was quite an interesting coincidence, one that made her think even more deeply. Elsewhere at his restaurant, Hyundo was winding down the day with Taegun. He complimented Taegun on a job well done and suggested they start closing up, but Taegun, instead of just nodding along, pressed him to open up about something. Hyundo feigned ignorance, asking what he was supposed to talk about. Then he shifted the topic and thanked Taegun for his support during the reopening of the restaurant. He admitted that he didn't know how he would have managed without him. Tae-kun laughed, jokingly asking if Hyundo was finally acknowledging his brilliance. But then, dropping the humor, he brought up the real issue, the photo of a woman on Hyundo's social media. He bluntly asked whether she was Hyundo's girlfriend. Trying to avoid the topic, Hyundo asked why it mattered to him. Taegun, growing more serious, pointed out that they had known each other for 4 years. During that time, he had respected Hyundo's privacy, even when he was being secretive. But now, seeing such a personal post, he felt like he deserved some honesty. Hyundo, unwilling to go deeper, simply said it wasn't important enough to share. He then told Taegun he was heading home and asked him to finish up. As he walked out, Hyundo thought to himself that there was no way he could reveal the truth. How could he possibly admit that he had created a fake relationship just to get back with his celebrity ex-girlfriend of 6 years, a woman he had left impulsively? He knew Taegun wasn't going to let it go easily. Avoiding him today had been hard enough. His train of thought was interrupted when his phone rang. It was Yumin. She asked if he could spare some time in 2 days after work. She remembered he was only free on weekdays after work and said she'd understand if he was too busy, but Hyundo told her he was available. Yumin, clearly pleased, told him she'd send the address of a pub her ex-boyfriend used to visit often. She arranged to meet him there in 2 days. When the day arrived, Hyundo showed up at the live music pub as planned. Yumin was already there, seated and waiting for him. She greeted him with a cheerful wave and told him she had already ordered drinks and appetizers. Her friendly and warm demeanor puzzled Hyundo. He found himself wondering why she was being so welcoming. As he sat down, he commented on her early arrival. Yumin explained that when she didn't have overtime, she could get off work earlier than him. She encouraged him to try the appetizers, saying the food there was great, though not as delicious as the food at his restaurant. Hearing her compliments, Hyundo stared at her with a confused expression. Yumin noticed and grew irritated. Inwardly, she wondered why he looked so serious. She thought no man would glare at a woman he was supposed to be flirting with. The whole point of their act was to appear as a couple. Hyundo then asked if her ex-boyfriend was there. He suspected her strange behavior might have something to do with his presence. Yumin told him that her ex wasn't there, but emphasized that they needed to be prepared in case he showed up unexpectedly. Hyundo dryly suggested she act like she did the last time, laughing and chatting by herself. He reminded her that she shouldn't expect anything from him, but Yumin admitted she had changed her mind. Now she wanted him to participate a bit more, even if it wasn't part of their original agreement. Hyundo pointed out that their arrangement was simple. All he had to do was spend time with her, but Yumin clarified that she didn't expect him to sit there like a lifeless object. She asked him to act like they were close, talk casually, use polite manners, and at least pretend to enjoy the evening. If he did that, she said, she could do the rest. She would take care of pretending to be happy. Skeptical, Hyundo asked what pretending to be happy really meant. Could she even pull it off? After all, she wasn't an actress. But Yumin was confident. She said it wasn't hard at all. All she needed to do was make it obvious. Look like a woman in love. Someone who is truly happy with her new boyfriend. As Hyundo looked at her, Yumin leaned in a little and suggested they give it a try that day. She might not have acting skills, but she believed she could make it convincing.